All right, we are live. What else would you want to be doing on a Monday morning, 9:06 a.m., other than listening to three friends talk? I know it's something that I look forward to every single weekend. The weekend goes by quick, but then I have something to look forward to. Today, we get to talk to two special friends again, Kelly Bishop, Blood Centers of America. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Bart. Good
And
morning,
then
Doug.
Doug Barman with Conference Direct. Joining us from Boston and joining us from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. So thank you. All right, this continues the conversations with Humanality. And what is Humanality? I'm going to ask Kelly or Doug. How would you define Humanality? Making people feel?
Making people have the feels, making people feel good, special, important.
Yeah. Doug, add to that. What else? No pressure.
They're recognized. You see them.
Yes, cared for, valued, seen, and heard, all of those great things. And what we are finding now, it's more important than ever. Why? Why is making people feel cared for, valued, seen, and heard from your perspective? Why is that more important now in today's society than ever before? Kelly, I'm going to ask you first.
I think because we move so fast and so quick, and it's very easy to cut out the feels, the way that you treat someone, the way that you listen to someone, the way you respond to someone. So that's where I think it's very important that we're bringing Humanality back into the picture and really taking that time to listen to someone, to see someone, to appreciate someone.
But that's all like soft, mushy, gushy stuff, Kelly.
That's the stuff that matters. Because the other stuff is so hard and fast. We're like missing it, right? It's like we're missing everything go by. People are like on their phones constantly, walking around even looking on their phones. They're not paying attention. They're not focused on the person right in front of you.
Do you think that matters, Kelly?
100% it matters.
Why? Who cares? Isn't it about profitability? Isn't it about just getting things done? Isn't it about just cranking through the checklist, getting the to-dos done? Isn't that what it's all about?
No, but all of that can get done if you take care of people.
Really?
And if you inspire and motivate them and you're kind to them and you treat them well, they're going to want to hit those numbers, exceed those numbers, make their clients happy. They're going to want to do all the things that's going to make a business succeed. If you're taking care of someone.
But Doug, I'm hearing from companies that they're too busy to focus on how we are making our employees feel, or how we are making each other feel. We're too busy to worry about that stuff. We just need to hire people that are going to get the job done, and they have to come motivated and engaged themselves. And if they're not motivated and engaged themselves, we don't have time to motivate or engage them. They just better do their job. And if they don't do their job, we're going to look for someone new. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, it's interesting, Bart, because I thought a lot about it since our last call together, and my takeaway from the call was I was a little bit being me. I was more worried about, like what you're describing, all these hotel people are stressed and not trained and not feeling valued and all that, and how it was impacting me. And I think what I need to remember is what's going on in their world. Why are their hotels, their companies, not bringing in the full level of staff needed? Why are they not able to find these people? Why are they not spending the time training them? Why are they not spending the time thanking them for the job they do? And that's impacting them. And I was looking at it, well, how is that impacting me? And I need to step back and say, well, what can I do to help them? Because they're in a tough situation. They're being asked to do more than they normally should be doing. And so I think I thought about that, and really, Kelly, it came from your comment. At the end of our call last time, you had talked about this goes both ways, and that really stuck with me. In the last few weeks, I've been thinking about that. And so, Bart, I think the answer is I need to be searching for more. Hey, that poor salesperson is being asked to do 3 jobs that back when I did it, I did 1 job. So yeah, I'm not enjoying how they're interacting with me, but I got to step back and understand why is it not going that way. And it's probably not all on them. It's on a lot of factors. And the bigger thing I would say, and we're not here to talk about it, and I don't want to go down it, but there's a lot going on in the world that I think, Bart, causes us not to stop and talk to people or recognize people because we're afraid of, they're on one side or I'm on the other side or whatever. And somehow we got to get back and forget about that. We're all people. We're all helping each other get through the day and get through life. And we used to not worry about all that other stuff, and we just cared about each other. And now you're afraid to actually speak up, even
Like,
the
that's such a great point.
Right. Yeah.
You're afraid of saying the wrong thing maybe to someone, or right? Like,
yeah, I mean, you put something on LinkedIn, you're afraid, oh gosh, or I look at Bart, your post, should I like it? Or does that show that I'm one way or the other? Like, oh my gosh, we used to just be able to say, hey Bart, good, great job,
Yes, we're like way overthinking things because we're worried about what people might think or assume about us.
Let's dive into that a little bit more. I know we're talking about humanality, pillar number 5, but I think this is the better conversation right now. Pillar number 5, it's notice, anticipate, and over deliver, which we will get to. But I would like to continue along this line of thinking because I think this is the most helpful conversation. And Doug, when you were talking about maybe we're not perceptive as to why certain people aren't treating me a certain way, I appreciate that. It's hard to kind of get out of the thinking of, well, this is how they are treating me affects me. But
Correct.
What can I do to make sure that I am helping them be able to treat me in the best way possible? Or am I seeking to understand without judgment? Am I trying to put myself into their shoes, not to judge, but to simply understand first without judgment, and then 2, how can I help them?
Well, it's like you've always said, Bar, I got to ask a few questions, right? They're not returning my call or getting back to me with the answer. And now I find out it's because they had to work the front desk for the last 2 days, or they had to drive the van and pick up people at the airport or whatever, which isn't in their job description. And they're not complaining about it. But unfortunately, they didn't have the time to get back to me. And then if I come in with attitude about, well, what took you 2 days? Then it just kind of escalates. When if I would have just stopped and asked a few questions of what's going on, okay, now we're I can be a little more caring and understanding of what's going on. And hey, what can I do? What information are you missing from me to get the answer? Or, it turns around into a productive conversation versus a confrontational conversation.
Yeah, and it's not accusing.
Trust. It's building trust. We talked about that last time too.
Yeah, say it again, Kelly.
It builds trust when you are stopping to kind of acknowledge, you're noticing. So pillar number 5, right? You're noticing, you're taking a moment to understand and have clarity, ask questions, because we don't know, right? And it might not even be that they're working several different roles within the hotel or wherever they are that they're not responding, but it could be like, we don't know what happened to them on the way to work today, right? Or we don't know what they walked into. We don't know what happened to them at home. We don't know what they walked into, if there's a bad manager who tore them apart for whatever reason, right? Like we don't know what's happening. And so I think it's not jumping all over someone because we don't know what is happening in their world. And I think that's one thing too, of noticing other people and kind of, giving them a little grace because you don't know. And you may want to ask like, hey, are you like, I'm here if you want to talk about anything or, what's going on. But I think that we can't just all of a sudden get snippy and snappy back at someone because of the way that they are with us. I think it's right. Like trying to diffuse a person, right? And when you're able to diffuse a person, they'll open up and they'll share, and they may share more than you actually want to know, and they may share more than they should be sharing, but you've just given them that opportunity to help keep driving and building that relationship possibly between the two of you. If it's someone you are going to be working with or partnering with, there's a lot that comes out of that. Just taking that time to understand what someone is going through or how they're feeling.
Because everyone has something, and this is a story I think you both have heard me share before. Everyone has something. You just don't know it. You might not know it unless I see you, unless we are where our feet are, we're present, unless we just ask, unless we notice, anticipate, over deliver. So everything aligns with regard to the pillars. And I want to go back to something, Doug, that you had shared before. And then I want to ask Kelly, this is your statement that you shared with me before. And this was probably a year or so ago. There was frustration on your behalf because your sense was sometimes you are in a lobby of a hotel, the lobby of a vendor with a briefcase full of money, ready to sign the contract. I'll never forget that example. I'm in the lobby of the hotel with a briefcase full of money, and no one can spend time with me because they're in a meeting talking about how to increase more revenue, but I am here. So that is your statement. That is a one-sided statement. And thank you for opening up about that. Kelly, I would like you to then dig into that and look at the opposite side, because Doug and I feel the same way. I can't believe no one can talk to me because you're in a meeting talking about revenue, yet I'm a viable customer. What could the flip side be if we are noticing, anticipating, and over-deliver for what someone else needs, and if we are seeking to understand without judgment, and if we are applying humanality? What could the opposite be? What could their perception be, or their situation be?
That they're feeling a lot of pressure from their owners, their management. They don't know, right? It's like, I used to joke, right, when I worked in hotels or even in different event companies, it's like meetings to have meetings, but like, why aren't we being with the customers? Why aren't we taking care of what matters, of how we're going to be bringing in this money? So I think it's, it's almost understanding, like, so you can't, like, this is the only time I have, or the only day to come in to do, so just for example, right, a site inspection, and you can't meet because you're in meetings, like internal meetings all day. Like, what's going on? Or like, what's happening? Ask, like, what's happening? Like, is there something? Do you want me to go a little like above you and see what's happening? Or why isn't there this trust that we can be meeting? I think, to me, like, I get it. It is strange, right? Or even asking for like the banquet event orders back. Like, hey, here's my plan out. I got these 3 months in advance. Do you think I could have them by this date? And they were still like, no, I don't think I'll have them to you then. Like, oh, why not? Oh, I have a lot of events before I get to you. So, and it's like, all right, well, I get that, but I made every effort to get them early. So if you can get them back to me early, that's great. But I understand. Thank you for sharing me your schedule too. So I think it's just being open on both sides. It is tough. I get that is quite the vivid picture, though, of like Doug standing in the lobby with a briefcase chained to his wrist with a bunch of, $100 bills in it. Like, I'm ready to spend, I'm ready to book. And like
my suit with the dollar signs on it.
Yes,
and I know it's an extreme example. And I mean, really, Bart, if you recall, it came from our discussion. I think I had just gotten off a call and I said to someone, hey, my client's ready to move forward with you. We want a contract. And they're like, okay, I think I can get it to you by Monday, the 24th. And I'm thinking, good grief, in my day, we had it to them an hour later because we wanted that contract signed.
You're going to run and go do that contract, right?
Yeah. So I think some of my thinking, Bart, from that has evolved. And again, it's what you're very passionate about is the training. You used to do training for hotels. And, I think we need to get back to that. So taking care of the people. And then I think the second thing is, I don't know that they're empowered to, like when I say that contract, they got to go meet with someone again and get reapproval and get the authority. Okay, yeah, you can generate the contract. Like there's so many like systems and processes in place now to do business, and I just think like if we're in a retail store and we grab something off the shelf and we had to get 4 people's approval before we got to the cash register, like that would be weird. Like, I want to buy this. Where do I pay for it? You know what I mean? Like our business is a simple business, but it's a people business. It's a relationship business. And we're letting systems and processes and checks and balances and who's empowered to do what. And I think we've joked about it before. I think front desk folks used to be empowered that if something went wrong, they could send some fruit to the roomer now. Now they need like 3 levels of, approval to send a $10 gift to somebody,
yeah.
We got to remember why we got into this business, why we wanted to own or manage a hotel, why we wanted to own or manage a retail store. We want customers to come in and buy from us. So you got to sit down and think of every step of that process and how do I make it as easy as possible from the minute they walk in the door to the minute they leave. And I think we've gotten away from that and we're more worried about how do we maximize revenue. Oh, we can add this new fee, that there's a pool fee and there's this fee and
added AV.
We've gone the wrong way.
A candle fee, fees to rent candle votives, like these ridiculous fees. But anyway, Doug, off of yours, Bart, can I jump in really quick?
I want you to. Yes, please.
I think part of it too is like going into like noticing, anticipating is also, Doug, to your point, like why is it going to take you 2 weeks to get this contract to me? Like, hey, during this process, while we're while you're doing the site inspection, while we're chatting, like, hey, I've narrowed it down to 2 of you. I've narrowed it down to you. Like,
Right.
through all that time, you're building this relationship. Ask the questions, talk about, as from the planner side, right? So I have a couple clauses. Can I send those to you early? Because usually that's where we get hung up in legal, or even from the hotelier side, or the DMC, whoever it is you're working with, right? Like, are there any special clauses that you're going to need to have in the contract that we could at least, I don't know if you're going to pick me or not, but at least I could kind of get those going, right? Like, or what are the concessions that are really important to you to have? And I think those are conversations that should be had way up front. Like, even if you're still between like 2 or 3 hotels, I think that that's okay to be chatting about that. So that doesn't hold you up when you're like, yes, we're going with you. Let's go to contract.
Yeah.
And, right.
Well, Kelly, that's why I love what you're saying. It's really us saying, okay, we know you're in a challenging spot. So instead of me joking about it takes 2 weeks or joking about standing in a lobby, like, what can I do to help? Like, to your point, while we're going through the process, let me get you all this information. What can I do to help you? Like, I don't know what goes on in those meetings. I keep asking folks, like, when you're evaluating a piece of business on the hotel side, speaking to that, which I know, like, what are you discussing? What information am I not giving you that would help you? I've been asking that question a lot of folks, and I'm like, I want someone, can we talk to the revenue managers and learn from them? Like, they're hidden behind, glass at a car dealership. Sorry, Kelly, I know you're in a car dealership right now. Oops, strike that from the comment.
Edit.
But it's like, that's the way I've been thinking, Bart, like, with you in mind. Like, you then are, you could be training these people, like, okay, how do we better do it? What do hotels need to evaluate a piece of business? Okay, I'm going to help train the planners, the Dougs of the world. Like, what can they do a better job of providing? Put it back on us as well. It is a joint thing. How do we help each other?
That's brilliant, Doug.
Yeah.
I love that, getting the RevMax managers involved more on our side of things.
Yeah, I typed in a couple of things, right? Notice, anticipate, and over-deliver goes both ways. And I don't think it's not rocket science. It's not that difficult. The things that we're talking about, it is communication. Yes, it all relates back to humanality, but how can we, when we're interacting with anybody, and this is not, I know we're talking meeting and events and hoteliers, but we have a lot of travel advisor friends that are going to be watching this live or the broadcast on Facebook. We have entrepreneurs and executive directors watching it live on the YouTube channel. There's a lot of elements about, well, what do you need? These are the things that I need as a buyer, as a consumer, as a traveler. What do you need? And then when we understand that, it's just communication, right?
Yeah.
I need this. I need this signed by this date. I have flexibility with this, but I don't have flexibility with that. Well, why? It's because of this, this, and this. I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult. And why do we think that it is hard then? Why is it hard to be understanding of the other person's perspective or the other viewpoint or what their needs are? Why are we making it in general?
I'm not making excuses, Bart, but I would go back to what Kelly was saying on your first question. I mean, I think we're all so busy, and some of it is for a lot busy is good, right? Oh, I got a call and I got to run to my next call and I got this meeting to go to. It's like we're checking boxes and we're doing all that, but then you don't stop. What we really need to do is, if you got a 10 o'clock call at 9:45, I'm getting prepared for that call. Okay. What do I need to talk about, Bart? Oh yeah, Bart was telling me that he's got this situation going on back at home with a family or pets, or, go back and kind of remember where we are and kind of re-engage on that. But we go from call to call to call, meeting to meeting to meeting, and we forget all that stuff, I think. And it's not a good excuse. I'm just saying, on both sides, we're very busy. But Bart, you mentioned, I want to do a quick shout out to the travel advisors that you're talking about. Having just done a vacation and having a little bit of a travel advisor, but they have one of the most difficult jobs ever. Like, I think the group side is hard, but when you take an individual vacation, everything they do, like the room has a view, it doesn't have a view, there was water in my room, and that all comes back to the travel advisor, has to make the calls, and Doug wanted fruit, and that is a challenging job. So I hope you get one of the travel advisors on one of these calls, because I think they could share, and some how do they maneuver this and work through this, because they're talking to everyone in the hotel, from the general manager to the doorman, to make sure that Bart and Terry's experience at that hotel is phenomenal. And that's a true skill. That's a true skill.
I agree. And one thing that I was just taking away from what you were both saying is that, are we assuming that you should already know me? So if I'm the buyer, if I'm the traveler, if I'm the meeting and event planner, if I'm the organizer, and you are providing me with a service, are we under the assumption that you should already know me? You should already know what I want. You should have done the research. You should know this, this, and this, and this about me. And that's hard to do when you are moving from client to client to client, from traveler to traveler to traveler. Are we making the assumption that we are maybe more important than we are? Because, well, you should know how I work. You should know what's important to me. You should know all of these things. And then when you are not just simply even delivering, you're not even over delivering, then I'm disappointed. Kelly, what are your thoughts on that? Does this make sense as
Yes, I see what you're saying. And for me, that's definitely not my style of how I am. I'm not one that's like about like personally me, right? It's more about, all right, so maybe know a little bit about my company, right? Like I love when I go into a place and someone wants to share a story with me, Blood Centers of America, all of our different blood centers, and they want to tell me about a time that they had donating, or what their blood type is, or something, just that their story that they have around a blood center. And it's always really special. And to me, that they thought about that, but they also felt comfortable to like share. Like it's literally, usually this happens within like the hug I'm giving someone that I'm going to meet, because I'm a hugger. So I usually end up hugging whoever it is that I'm meeting. And it's like the next thing that they tell me is their experience. And I really love that. And I feel like that's not about me, that they have done kind of their homework or their thoughts. That's about my company. And that's what I love, that they've done that research on the company. Like, I don't care if they've done the research on me, because I want them to know kind of the hot buttons, like what's happening, what some of the cool, unique, special things that are happening within the blood centers that we're doing to help save lives. To me, that's more important than like knowing what my style is.
Right? And of course, you never make it about you. And I guess just the question is, there is some expectation that they would know Blood Center of America and what they do. Right. Doug, right? For Conference Direct, what does Conference Direct do? And what does the end user, the client that you are working with, what do they do? I ran into hotels before that they're getting ready for a site inspection the next day, and it's NWSRA, and they don't know what it stands for. They don't know that it's the Northwest Scholastic Resources Association. They don't know what it stands for. And I'm like, well, how can you be prepared if you don't know that? All right. So I want to get back in the last couple of moments to this: notice, anticipate, and over deliver. Doug, I have challenged you before. I know when we were standing in line waiting for coffee or cupcakes in Georgetown, I said, let's play this little game. What do you notice? Anticipate what someone needs, and what would that look like? I remember it was baked and wired, and I encouraged you to play that game with me. Kelly, we have not played that game.
I know. I was like, I want to play a game.
Yeah, we could probably do that. But I just want us to talk about notice, anticipate, and over deliver. How, like, just those three words, not necessarily in a professional sense. What does that mean to you? Notice, anticipate, and over deliver from a humanality perspective, human to human. What could that look like, or how would you define it? Doug, I want you first, and then Kelly.
I think when we did that exercise, you basically reminded me how I was brought up. My parents were great about, you hold the door, you do this stuff. I mean, we were just here in Rehoboth this weekend. It clearly looked like their mom and three daughters. The mom was kind of elderly. She was trying to get down the step, open a door, holding a glass of water and everything. So I got up and got the door for her, and the daughters thanked me like it was I did something that special. All I did was hold a door for someone, which anyone would do, right? You're looking at someone with three things in their hand and a cane and trying to maneuver something. But I guess it's what your point is, and what we all got to remember, Bart, is it's seeing and noticing that, and then actually doing something versus turning and going back to the conversation at the table and going, well, I hope she gets through the door okay. You know what I mean? So I think it's hard, Bart. I mean, when we did that exercise, I feel like I'm a good person and I'm looking out, and if someone's got a stroller and they're trying to get up the stairs or over the curb, I'm going to stop and help them. But sometimes, to what Kelly was talking about, we're moving so fast and we're not thinking about it. So I think conversations like this help you remember every day, you know, just take a deep breath, and if you see something, do something.
It's a simple reminder, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Kelly, so how about you, for you, Doug? Thank you. Yeah. And the exercise, you nailed it. And part of it is because of the element of who you are as a caring, observant person. Kelly, the same thing with you, but same question to you. Notice, anticipate, and over deliver. And maybe one additional element of it. Why do you think people might notice, anticipate, and even deliver or over deliver? Why might some people not even notice, let alone do anything about it?
Well, I feel like, you know, that's a great point that Doug brings up. Like, it's kind of how you're raised, right? And then it goes into the people around you. It goes into your leadership teams and your companies, how you see how they treat you, how they treat others. You know, the people that you associate with. I think it is very true. Thinking about whether I'm in my, you know, my personal world or my work world, of how people notice each other, or, you know, anticipate what someone might need. Oh, someone's, you know, been really busy doing these reports, running these audits. I'm just going to pop in and see if they want something. Like, hey, can I help you? Does it help if I read numbers to you, or do you want something to drink? I'll go get a Starbucks for you, whatever it might be, right? It's just trying to be thoughtful. Or if you know their order, like, just go get it and give it to them. Then that's really cool and special. But I think it's just going that little extra way, and it's just noticing people, noticing what they're doing. You know, recently at a hotel that I was at, doing a site inspection, she had called us and said, hey, I know we're trying to get you guys into site the hotel. I think you might want to come on this day if it works for you, because I think the setup that we have is exactly what you guys want. I mean, it was like, we're talking trade show on one side and like ballroom set, chevron, half, you know, classroom for like $250. It was unbelievable. First of all, that someone else had this, like, Bart, you know what this setup was, had this like crazy setup. But that she noticed, kind of like in our specs, right, in written word, not like pictures, maybe what we are looking for. And just to call in that, to me, that was like over delivering. Like, hey, come in, let's walk this space when I have another group that has your same set.
Yeah. And didn't cost that much money. It just takes focus, outward focus. It takes I see you. Get out of here, get out of here, get out of me, and then just take the time, I think, to look up and ask the question, who can I help? Another little example, coffee shop, Old Town Alexandria. Terry does her yoga class. I go to a coffee shop and I work. And I've been getting a table right next to the entranceway, next to the door. And I'm a couple of spots away that I'm not going to play the door person or the doorman, because I'm there to do work and enjoy my coffee. Great. But I do notice when people are coming in and out with dogs, with baby strollers, with groceries, the people interacting, coming in and out, some people will notice, and some people will hold the door open for the person pushing the baby stroller through with 3 dogs in tow. But some people don't even see it. They don't even see it. And I don't get that. I don't understand.
I think that's why we're having these conversations, Bart. Like, sometimes we don't see it, right? I thought of you. I don't know if you saw it on LinkedIn. Somebody put a post out, and it was this woman with her son in a wheelchair at the top of an escalator. And she's struggling and trying to figure it out. And she's going to get him out of she's going to carry him. And then 2 people walked right by, like, looked at like the whole situation. And this guy stopped and folded up the wheelchair. She brought the son down. He brought the wheelchair down, sets it back up. They give each other a hug, and he goes up. Like, the first time I watched it, it was the positive. Oh my gosh, that guy's amazing. The second time I'm like, wow, what if I was one of those two, that I was on the way to a site visit and I'm running late and I'm just going to look at these people and go right on by. Like, that's what we got to remember. And I think that just, again, goes back to what I said at the beginning of this part. We're in this environment where we're not as caring and concerned about others. We're more worried about ourselves, and we're guarded on what we say and do because it'll look bad or whatever. Yeah. We just got to do the right thing. And the right thing would have been to help that person get down the escalator.
Wow.
You know? And you'll have to look for it. I thought of you immediately because it looked like a Bart Berkey post. It really did.
I think I've seen that actually, and it just reminded me of another example. Friday, eating out with Terry, there was a gentleman with a walker, and I'm not afraid or embarrassed to admit this. I was not in a good mood. It was a long week, not necessarily good or bad. I was just not in the best mood. And there was a gentleman with a walker that was moving into the restroom, and he parked the walker outside of the stall, outside of the accessible stall. And this sounds really bad. I could have moved his walker around so when he came out, he didn't have to scoot all the way around, because you park it this way, but in order to get it, and I actually saw the walker, and I thought, let me turn it around for him, just so when he comes out of the stall, his hand grasps are right there. And I didn't do it. And I didn't do it because I thought, what we were talking about, is it too personal? Is it not?
Does he want you touching it?
Yeah. Does he want me touching it? Is it appropriate? Is it okay? I could have asked him, but sadly, and I'm not embarrassed to admit this, sadly, it was easier. It was easier for me just to wash my hands and leave the restroom. And now thinking back to it, that's not what I preach. That's not what I talk about. I talk about doing what most people don't do. So these are all reminders. If you're listening through whatever live channel or whatever replay, it's a reminder for all of us. I'm sharing this. I teach this. So it's a reminder to me that I better be the best person that I can be for others. But I just think it was interesting. And again, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that, but it's the truth. I was worried, Kelly, about would that person want me doing it? Is it okay for me to touch their equipment? What if he would slip and fall? Would I get sued? Like all of these things, Kelly, help me overcome it. What should I have done? Kelly, what should I have done?
I mean, that's tough, right? You could have stood there and waited for him to come out, but then is that weird? He'd be like, "Why are you waiting for me to come out?"
I didn't ask for your help.
Right? Exactly. Like, you don't know. And so I think that kind of goes back to how we started, right? It's that noticing each other, anticipating, but some people don't want the help. Some people don't want to be noticed. And others, you ask something and people might explode and get upset if you try to offer something, because that happens too, right? You hold the door for someone and they're annoyed and angry that you held the door, or that if you turn
I don't need your help. What are you helping me for? I don't need your help.
Right. I do think it's very thoughtful. I have to say, I think it's very thoughtful. And I don't think most people would even have the thought process that you had. Should I turn this around right now?
Yes.
So I think I would not be hard on yourself. I think you have to give yourself a lot of credit that you are still, practicing what you preach. Of most people don't, because you even had that conversation in your own head of,
yes,
maybe I should turn this around. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to leave. But you at least thought about that.
Yes, but as Doug said, he knows he's quoting me: see something, do something. Don't see something, say something. Right?
Doug, what would you have done? Would you have turned it?
No, the thing that popped into my mind when you guys said it is, could you have asked a question? Hey, can I help you? Can I turn this around? But again, he's in the stall. You're out there. There's some weirdness there. I don't know. You can't be hard on yourself. I think the two examples I was saying of the people that passed on the escalator, I hope they're not hard on themselves, but they learn from it and say, gosh, if that ever happens again, I'm going to do something different. And then I think it's a win. I think it's just like which I always thought was more Pollyanna. Hey, get up this morning and, notice the roses and the sun, I'm like, I think all that is saying to us is just slow down. We're trying to be so busy and we're so important and I got all these things to do. We really don't. I mean, I love what I do, but our industry isn't brain surgery. So, I'm loving it. I can slow down and help someone on the way to, my site inspection, and it'll be just fine.
No.
So I think we got to be forgiving, but just try and be more observant, as you're saying, anticipate how we could help, try to think of how I could over deliver here. But if you didn't do it, let's learn from it and let's try and improve the next time. That's all we can do.
Fair enough. Okay, Kelly, over delivering question. And this is another scenario. There was a person without home, and I don't know what and here I am again. I'm trying to be so politically correct. A homeless person, an unhoused person. I don't know what the right word is, but
right.
This is
that's what I meant earlier, right? It's like you don't know how to say certain things anymore.
Yeah, I don't want someone to comment and say homeless is not the right word anymore. Unhoused is the better. A person without home, whatever that is. Same coffee shop. I want your opinion. We're talking about noticing, anticipating, and over deliver, which sounds like a lovely thing. Great. The person came in, and I've seen them there before, and would ask each person in line, would you buy me a cup of coffee? And they would keep on asking the person until they said yes. And whoever said yes, she would stand next to that person and wait in line and get her free cup of coffee. In the meantime, she would also ask for free water. She would ask the establishment for free banana. And so I'm watching and I'm observing this. And I'm just curious. There's many times where I have interacted with people that were unhomed, and you've heard the story, the gentleman that hold up the sign, I might as well be invisible. And I went up to him and I gave him a gratitude stone. And I simply said, I see you. And we had a conversation and he cried. Great. In that scenario where the woman is asking every single person, will you buy me a cup of coffee? How do we notice, anticipate, and over deliver for a situation like that? What would you do, Kelly? And then we'll conclude.
I think if I was in line and I noticed a woman asking people, it kind of just kept moving back to the line and it got to me, I would buy her coffee. And I would probably also say, do you have allergies? Would you like a sandwich as well? Would you like something else? Right. Because I feel like for me, like if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to help someone like that, who's like right there and it's not me, walking out and handing or, being asked outside, it's like in the coffee shop, I would offer like, is there something else I can get you? Would you like food with that?
Yeah. And that's your heart. That is your heart coming out. That's your heart coming out. Doug, I'm curious because my reaction would probably be it was a little different. Doug, what would your reaction be? Could you and would you? Do we notice, anticipate, and over deliver for every single opportunity where we think we can?
Well, I can answer that for myself and say no. I mean, I've got the luxury of a discussion here where I've got minutes and minutes to think about an answer. So my answer is probably more to Kelly. Oh, of course, I'm going to buy something. It's so different when you're standing there and you're observing. And I think that's the purpose of these discussions. What the three of us are doing or not doing isn't necessarily right or wrong. Just, hey, see it, notice it, think about it, and I believe that everyone's going to end up doing the right thing, and again, I would hope I was willing to buy coffee and to Kelly's point, hey, is there something else I can do for you? I prefer something like that than just giving money and you don't know what they're using the money for. So my inclination would be buying a cup of coffee or a sandwich is much better than, hey, here's $5, go spend it on what you're going to ever spend it on. So, but again, I feel like I'm in a training session with you, Bart, and it's like everything's staged, and it's a lot easier to say, well, of course I'm going to do that.
I love that, your honesty about that. That is a great thought, right?
And as I'm describing it to you, it's probably different than how I saw it, because I almost saw it respectfully to human nature. I almost saw entitlement. I almost saw
of the people in line.
No, of the person asking for the coffee, the person that was on home.
Interesting.
Will you buy me a coffee? Will you buy me a coffee? Will you buy me a coffee? Will you buy me something? Will you buy me a coffee? Will you buy me a coffee? Will you buy me a coffee? It wasn't just my sense. Just my sense, because I see her every single week and I see her do the same thing every single week. And then I see the food that she's getting from the establishment. So it's different. And I know it's different, but I guess the good thing is, as long as we continue to notice, look up and observe and be aware. I was more likely, and I'll share this. We went to one place and it was at a bake shop, and it was at the end of the day, and Terry was picking up something for her cousin who was in an assisted living center, and Terry said something about, well, what do you do with those at the end of the day? And she's just like, oh, well, we'll either give them away or throw them away. And Terry said, oh, well, that's interesting, and had mentioned something about going to visit an assisted living center. And the woman said, well, here, take all of these. Take 2 big bags of pastries that were, a minute old, right? 2 big bags of pastries. And Terry ended up giving some of them to a homeless individual that she saw on the street. Yes, some of them went to the assisted living facility, but then some of them also went to a homeless person on the street that was not asking for a cup of coffee, but you could tell was out of sorts. But again, my greatest takeaway, I guess, is that one, we need to notice, right? We need to notice. There are some times that we will anticipate. There are some times that we will deliver. There are some times that we will over deliver from a professional lens that would make a difference. And then I think delivering and over delivering could be something by recognizing somebody, right? By speaking to them, by asking them, like, Kelly, do you have any allergies? Can I buy you a sandwich as well? Right? That's a lovely explanation of it. All right.
Well, I think, Bart, it goes back to what we were discussing earlier, like on the professional side, ask questions. Why is that salesperson stressed out or whatever? You're giving personal examples. It's the same answer for both. We got to take the time to ask some questions and understand the situation better. Why is that person there every week? Is there something we could do that would change that person having to be there every week? Is there something we could do that changes that poor salesperson and why they can't respond to me? I think that would be my biggest takeaway from this conversation, is asking some questions, yes, trying to understand, and then seeing if there's something. I probably can't help every situation, but how do I help some of them?
Doug, I was just going to challenge Bart. If he sees this person every week, so he's noticing,
yes,
anticipating, but like, all right, so maybe you offer that person to sit down with you and you learn about their story. Maybe there's something so simple that having a conversation with someone will click in, and then
no one will give me a job because of this, or I can't do this, or you know what? I know someone that can help you, whatever.
That is such a mic drop from both of you. Goodness, because there I am thinking, here we are, transaction. I'm thinking transaction. Someone needs a coffee, we buy them a coffee. They need a banana, we buy them a coffee. We anticipate, we over deliver once. And then you both just went deeper, bigger, and broader and said, well, what could we do to over deliver in the long run? How can we understand you more by helping you over deliver for yourself in the long run? What can we do? And what is the saying about you teach a man to fish and he'll eat, or what is do we know what the saying is?
You give them a fish and they have one meal. You teach them a fish and they can feed themselves for the rest of their lives, right?
Yes, that's it.
Great. Thank you.
So the next call we're on, Bart, we want an update from you on this.
But you're right. That was transaction. Let me give you a fish versus let me teach you how to fish, which is transformational. And that's what we're talking about, full circle with Humanality. It's not meant to be transactional. It's not meant to make people feel processed. You just blew my mind, both of you, by coming full circle, by opening up my eyes to it is not transactional. Over delivering is not transactional. It's not just noticing one thing once and over delivering once and seeing something and doing something once. It is much bigger than that. And that creates the joy, the relationships, the trust, the referrals, the recommendations, of course, but that creates love for Humanality and for human beings. Amazing. Doug Barman, Kelly Bishop, I'm so thankful. Goodness gracious. You continue to teach me every single time we talk. And what I love, one of the things that I love most, selfishly, you're teaching me, but two, we are giving 44 minutes of I believe, interesting conversation to other people that might not have the resources, that might not know a Kelly Bishop firsthand, that might not be friends with Doug Barman firsthand. So I'm so grateful what you both are contributing to, and Meg and Gail, through these series. It's just to be able to share good ideas to make people stop and think a little differently. How can I get better, feel better, and do better? And that's mainly by serving other people. Kelly, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
The best way to find me is on LinkedIn, Kelly Bishop.
Okay, simple enough. Thank you very much, Kelly. Doug Barman, easiest way to find you?
Same. LinkedIn is the easiest way.
All right, Doug Barman.
Thanks for the conversation, Bart. We're all learning from each other and learning areas of opportunity for ourselves too, which is great.
We're all getting better. Doug Barman, I started to say with 2 A's, Baarman. Sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
I said you make us think. You make us want to be better people too, Bart.
No, you're quite welcome. And thank you all for sharing. Have a great Monday, and we'll continue the conversation next Monday, 9 a.m. So please like, share, subscribe, do all those things that I don't even know what to ask people to do, but just find benefit. Comment also. Comment so we know that you're learning something special. Again, grateful so much. Kelly and Doug, thank you so much, both of you. Everyone else, all of our listeners, have a great week.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you, Doug. Bye.
Bye.